Exactly how aware are you of the role that you're playing in your own reality? And are you even the main character in your own life? If not, then who is, or what is, creating the majority of your lived experiences that all have an energetic and subtle emotional precursor? If that does not live in your conscious awareness, then what is actually creating the majority of your worldview? In order to tackle these very complex questions, we're going to go down a rabbit hole today and think about these topics in terms of two very important parts of our internal experience that many people overlook. And those are attention and intention. The difference may seem subtle and difficult to immediately recognize, but understanding how to sculpt the use of these two variables internally will change the entirety of your life's perspective. First of all, your attention is the energetic currency which allows you to set the focus and direction for your life experience. It's important to see that attention is everywhere that we're investing energy, whether consciously or subconsciously. If you're not aware of where your attention is flowing, then you're focused on certain things that have snatched your conscious awareness and are causing you to experience emotions that you may or may not actually want to experience. You may feel like certain things have the power to attract your attention more than others because they're able to direct your vulnerabilities, your emotional state, in the direction of feeling something negative, unpleasant, or destabilizing, because those factors take you out of a state of aligning with what you actually need to be focused on deep down. As soon as something steals your attention, you move into a subtle state of dissociating from your true self because you're in a state of reactivity and responding to things that have entered your field from outside of you that you have little to no control over. For example, if you feel disoriented when you see something unsettling in the news, or if you're part of a conversation and somebody has the power to take you out of alignment by putting you in a state of focusing on different dramatic things that you have no ability to change, then you might feel that your attention drifts into a mode of actively trying to handle resistance that you can't actually mitigate. The only thing that you can do is to move your attention back into yourself and to take yourself from a mode of trying to tackle things outside of you to moving into a state in which you can control something, which ultimately comes down to the control over your attention. Once you recognize that your attention allows you to shift the trajectory of your awareness, you can allow yourself to observe where that awareness has been flowing in the first place. If your awareness has initially put you in a state of distraction, disorientation, meaning you find yourself looking at things externally and forgetting that you are actually the observer of your experience, then you might feel that you have little to no control over your emotions as well. You would find yourself reacting to things because you aren't aware of the role that you're playing in creating that reaction. This is due to that disconnect between the subconscious and conscious mind, the subconscious, which is always eliciting some emotional reaction, and the conscious mind, which must intervene at times and redirect that awareness to come back to the point of internal equilibrium. So if you find yourself focusing on certain things, meaning giving your attention to any variables in your life that put you in a negative energetic state, meaning those things drain your energy. They may make you feel uncomfortable feelings internally like anger, despondence, any kind of aggression, sadness, or a feeling of loss or confusion, then what's really called for, which is the hidden truth in a situation that invokes that negative reaction, is to focus on what can you now attend to internally to understand why you got yourself in that situation in the first place, and what you must now choose to give your attention to that allows for the transmutation of that negative polarity that you're experiencing. What that might look like is you choose to recognize the cause for emotional distress in a certain direction, but you realize that the most proactive thing that you can do to invest your energy in growth, in personal connection, acceleration, and deeper loving unity within yourself is to give yourself to growth opportunities. And that means choosing a growth mindset that causes you to really think about where do you want to invest your energy and why. If you're not focusing on the importance of placing your attention in those areas that fuel your connection to your own soul, then you may constantly feel vulnerable to external distractions, to different things and people that might take you into that lower frequency state, because you haven't yet established those healthy mental and energetic boundaries that create that semi-permeable membrane or selective relationship within yourself. What that means is that you're very selective about how you wish to share your energy, which is a very important aspect of energetic self-love and also maintaining the purity of your own field. As soon as you forget about the importance of regulating your energetic state, you become a pendulum, moving in unregulated directions and experiencing the polarities that the world is choosing to create inside of you, unless you realize that you need not swing like a pendulum in any direction based on the energies that you are exposed to. What this might look and feel like is you can go from being a very sensitive empath that's easily destabilized when experiencing external chaos, noise, negativity, or any kind of disorienting conditions, to feeling like those so-called negative circumstances actually do not perturb you, because what you begin to learn is the art of inner boundaries and setting that defense, which is energetic awareness, that prevents you from experiencing these ups and downs in your energetic state. As soon as you focus on the reaction that your own energetic field is eliciting, you tap into one of the most important pieces of feedback that your body is constantly generating. It's like a conversation that you can have between your mind and your spirit, or even between your ego and your soul, wherein you can actively assess the way that you're feeling and use that as a cue to understand if something is or isn't aligned with you. And the intermediary, which we have to focus on, is our own attention. Once you gain attention of what is happening internally to you, whether certain things, people, and environments actually suit you on a deep energetic level, or whether they disorient you from within, you can recognize either how to take yourself out of those situations to prioritize self-love and a healing energetic state when you're choosing the things, people, and situations that are most in alignment with you at a default level. Or you can at least choose to protect yourself by being very mindful about how much energy and attention you're giving to those situations that have the power to take you out of alignment. When you start to use your attention as a conscious shield, what you then realize is that nothing actually has the power to take you out of alignment other than you. It was simply the lack of your attention in the first place that puts you in that highly susceptible and vulnerable condition. It's like not realizing that you have the opportunity to set boundaries in the first place. If somebody doesn't realize that their job as a conscious being and vessel of consciousness is to allow themselves to select the ingredients in their life story that suit them, and to allow for a healthy state of filtering out things that don't resonate, choosing to say no to certain people, toxic situations, and other challenges in life that really test your inner resolve, you may not realize that this is even an option. So you lacking any information that is actually a prerequisite to experiencing a healthily aligned conscious experience prevents your attention from going there. Anytime you have a blind spot, that is an unconscious part of you that isn't able to be attentive over your deepest needs. We have to start to think about all the things that we're missing in our life experience as potentially connected to some unconscious blind spot, meaning it's something that we don't know about ourselves that is preventing us from seeing the full picture. We can even start to think then that if there's any issue in our lives, whether it's a health issue, a relationship issue, or anything that's causing unfulfillment, there's very likely a blind spot that's obfuscating our conscious awareness and preventing us from gaining that attention over what must be done, refined, or energetically transmuted to bring in healing, nourishment, and deeper self-sufficiency. Unless we are able to gain that important attention, to create a command over our own consciousness, and to let go of any factors that are preventing us from attaining it, we're always going to feel like something or someone has the power to steal our attention, to derail our focus, and to move us away from our own power and autonomy. But that ultimately is the biggest blind spot. If we aren't yet sure that we do have the power to command our spirit and to be that fully aware, integrated, and wholesome version of ourselves, and that simply comes down to our own lack of willingness or awareness regarding the process of integration. Now, we also need to explore the importance of attention when it comes to creating the actions that fuel our life experiences, because attention is always the start. It's also the intermediary that allows us to understand where our energy is constantly being invested to fuel either room for growth or for the degradation of our potential and our highest energetic use case. So ultimately, attention flows into the curation of intentions that create our life. If we aren't aware of where our attention is flowing, then we have no idea that we can even sculpt the most appropriate energetic intentions based on the highest use case for our attention. Attention, as we're already exploring in this context, is either allowing us to suspend our free will or to create more opportunities to incorporate it into our lives. If you feel like you don't know where to invest your attention to experience optimal growth, healing, and empowerment, then you aren't yet allowing yourself to experience the intentions that will fuel your soul's purpose. And that can come down to many different things, or perhaps simply not experiencing a habitual, loving relationship between your attention and the intentions that it can support in your life. We can look at it this way. Once you start to become very aware of where your attention is flowing, you realize that there's a certain part of you that always knows where resonance can be found. That part of you doesn't need to create resonance. It's not seeking to manifest anything. It's not even asking consistent questions, because that part of you that possesses knowing and connection to the sacred essence that lives within you is completely clear. It possesses this kind of clarity that allows you to see truth from falsity based on only the energetic resonance that you can register deep within your being. You might have experienced this very sacred feeling of being in touch with yourself if you are confronted with a certain problem and your gut immediately indicates that something feels off, or perhaps it's actually a push in the right direction that allows you to feel immense certainty even when your mind has no idea whether a right or wrong is being indicated in that situation. You might also feel that there's a certain part of you that is difficult to trust because you're not exactly sure where it's coming from, and yet it always has a clear voice. That clarity is something that you may not rationally understand, but it's a part of you that feels before you're even able to think or synthesize the cause for a certain solution. And so typically when you give in to that aspect of you, it's compelling you to go in a certain direction. You may want to put on the brakes and second guess the choices and decisions that that aspect of you wants to make. But if you allow yourself to surrender to it, it gives you more and more confirmations. When you give in to the aspect of you that knows exactly who you are, exactly what you need, and exactly what you're supposed to be doing to create that state of aligned resonance internally, then you aren't even going to question the path. The path starts to create itself and unfold beautifully based on your own divine surrendered process, essentially you submitting to yourself and the source that lives within you. When that happens, intentions are automatically born, meaning you don't even need to think about what intentions to create. They're simply there. You start to experience them arising as creative bursts of opportunity, interesting ideas that come from somewhere beyond your mind altogether, from the ether. You might start to experience them in your dreams, connecting certain long-lost parts of your own psyche or subconscious mind to everything that is yet to be explored in your present reality. You may start to realize that there are parts of your inner child which need to be healed, which can only be healed when you allow yourself to set the intentions that appropriate the energy that has always been stored within you and allow it to be used for growth and for more experiential value to be uncovered. When you allow yourself to sustain these growth opportunities by placing your attention on what can you do for yourself to experience more harmony, understanding, empathy, self-respect, self-love, and also the most harmonizing reality outside of you, you begin to receive the answers autonomously. Like this solution begins to emanate within your own field, as that innate intelligence is always going to be guiding you in that direction, as long as you choose to surrender. The reason why so many of us are clashing with and drowning out that innate intelligence is because we ironically don't want to listen to it. We may feel somewhat afraid of the power of that innate intelligence to destroy our own illusions, the expectations that others have devised in our lives for us, and anything else that we have concocted from a place of fear, struggle, or survival impulses, rather than genuine devotion to our soul's alignment. And so if we choose to listen to the subtle voice of intuition, wisdom, and inner knowing, we may start to feel this split that we have been upholding in our being. And that too reflects the reason why many of us lose sight of our attention and don't allow ourselves to consistently be attentive to this innermost part of our being. The average human's attention these days is something like 6 seconds or less, which means that many of us don't even have the ability to proactively focus our attention on anything that allows for educational opportunity, for deeper healing, self-exploration, and alignment with a higher level cause. Because of that, we might feel like our own brain is sabotaging the processes that are most in alignment with us. You may feel like you need to force yourself to do certain things that are good for you, like changing negative habits into positive ones, learning something new, devoting yourself to powerful spiritual practices like meditation or breath work. But that feeling of forcing something is also going to create a state of dissociation within you. For as long as you feel the need to force yourself to attend to something, there's going to be part of you that rebels against that forced need. And so it's very important for us to understand if we are forcing our attention to move in a positive direction, we really need to figure out why we have corrupted those positive intentions within us in the first place. Why we are on some level afraid of devoting ourselves to the most beautiful experience that one can possibly entertain, one that evokes the deepest healing, self-love, and cooperation with our own elemental nature. Your ego is what's unable to hold attention for longer than those mere 6 seconds. Your ego and your physical brain isn't able to allow you to change your modes of consciousness because it simply runs that program that has already been creating your experience and looping into your field those aspects of your nature that you're familiar with. So if you decide that change is called for, a curiosity must be born to accommodate it, an excitement, a passion, a zeal for life, new parts of you that want to be creating the basis of this new reality so that you can actually seed those intentions from a place of enthusiasm rather than fear. If you're choosing to create attention based on the old patterns of the ego and trying really hard to break out of them, you're always going to feel like some part of you isn't aligned with the new program. It's like the inner child that might be throwing a temper tantrum because they don't actually feel that this new idea is going to be in alignment with them. What we must all think about is how we can literally hack into our psyche and adopt the right protocol that allows us to displace any kind of fear-based or resistant programming with these highest intentions by placing our attention on not resistance and fighting the past, but on instating a more positive future that we want to wake up to every single morning, to experience continual blossoming of our potential and more opportunities on the horizon because we realize that we are actually responsible for creating them. By understanding that we always have access to the power of attention and intention, we realize that if we don't feel that we have been creating our reality, it's because those subconscious intentions have been, since intention is the only thing that creates reality. If you're not aware of your own intentions, then it must be the intentions of your parents, your family, your friends, your societal leaders, anybody that has ever played a role in the formation of the way that you see yourself and what you need yourself to adhere to is what has been creating your life experience. And so if you're not satisfied with the way that anything is unfolding, intentions must be attended to, especially seeing that in order to change them, you must reform your relationship to yourself and cultivate a space for deep self-discovery and for the refinement of these intentions from a place of deep surrender, understanding that whatever hasn't yet been explored now will naturally come through when you lean back into your heart space and allow new answers to come through, not by way of creating novel strategies or trying to become someone that you really aren't, but by actually making things profoundly easier for yourself. The first thing that offers immense relief is simply observing yourself, attending to reality by giving your attention to certain things, and then responding on where your attention is flowing to fuel certain intentions, to see that you have endless possibilities when it comes to what you give your attention to and what you're choosing to create as an intention that fuels your life experience. If you haven't been focusing on the power of these modalities that exist within you, then this is going to be a eureka when it comes to your personal growth. You're going to see that you are not just improving upon yourself as a stationary character that has little control over what creates the reactions and substance of the life journey, but you actually get to change your internal hardware, just like a technology that has to go through continual software updates to refine its own output. In order to recognize the new inputs that must be brought into the picture, we have to see what outputs we dislike because they are always going to be a reflection of us. And that's where a desire to look into ourselves and to merge with the core of our being yields an unexpected outcome. When we connect to both our attention and the intentions within us, we can feel any dissonance and we can honor where we must create a cohesive nature within ourselves by coming to respect that we've always had this power, and it's one of the biggest gifts that we can give ourselves to really own it. Choose to commit to the ownership of both your attention and your intention in order to see that every single day is an opportunity for you to sculpt your life path in a new way, allowing for new learning, new expansion, new excitement, and new ways of delivering upon your soul's promises to you by respecting that inner calling. And as soon as you choose to give your attention to what this higher aspect of you is always offering you, you recognize that everything becomes much easier, as it should be, since coming back to that point of least resistance is ultimately the wake-up call that changes everything along our life's path.